We're joined now by the Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem, Fleur Hassan-Nahoum. Fleur, can you talk to us a little bit about how the people of Jerusalem are feeling, obviously, since Saturday's attack, and how are they feeling about the upcoming days and what Israel's response might be to Hamas?
So first of all, I mean, it feels like the world for us has changed in less than a week. Saturday morning, we woke up to the sounds of sirens. And I have to tell you, in Jerusalem, we don't normally get sirens because we don't normally get rocket attack because of our very large Muslim Arab community. So normally they don't send rockets here in Jerusalem. They send it to the south of the country. And unfortunately, this entire generation of kids who have grown up under the sounds of sirens and running to a shelter, but we're less used to it over here. I've got 4 kids. We all scuffle down into our shelter, and we remain there for the majority of the morning. I realized at that point that something very bad is happening. I opened my phone and I understood that we'd been aggressively attacked with nothing less than a massacre. The atrocities that have been discovered over the last few days just beggars belief. We didn't understand really that we have ISIS here in our borders, and the human loss, but the cruelty of what they've done to the people that they've killed beggars belief. You know, only yesterday they found tens of infants, some of them decapitated, some of them had been burnt alive. I can't begin to tell you how traumatized the country is, but trauma has turned into defiance over the last 2 days. We have no other choice. This is existential for us. Hamas is the long arm of Iran. It wants to take not just us, but the world back 500 years. That's what Iran wants to do. They say it publicly. And so we have no other choice but to go and, first of all, bring back our people, our hostages. And we can only do that with a ground invasion.
Fleur, delighted to have you on Talk today. Thank you for joining us. I was quite outspoken yesterday because I consider... I'm so touched by this. I have so many Jewish friends contacting me. I consider it, as you said, ISIS-like. I find it extraordinary that people are... I understand the theory that, you know, we should be trying to deal quite rightly from a humanitarian viewpoint, get children out. I don't want anything like that, but we need to understand what this is. You called it, Hamas, the long arm of Iran, and you are absolutely right. We know that the Israeli defense systems, their surveillance systems are that advanced that this was and had to be organised from outside. And whilst the UN can stand there and wring their hands, quite rightly, as they always do, what I want the UN to do is actually talk about the atrocities that have happened to Israelis, to Jews. And many on this show, Nicola backed me up yesterday, saying repeatedly, this takes us back to what happened 70 years ago. This is an existential threat, trying to rid... in effect, that's how it would feel for Jews. And that has to be dealt with, does it not?
Absolutely. Well, they make no bones about it. It's in their charter.
Yeah.
Their charter doesn't say that they want some type of peaceful resolution. The way that we think, the way my kids have been raised is one day we're going to have peace. That's not in their charter. The charter is very clear. They want the total annihilation of the state of Israel, all the Jews in it, and, by the way, all the Jews around the world as well. That's also in their charter.
Well, I was going to ask you, sorry, I was going to ask you, the UK, the US, the world has reacted. We've seen that, Nick, haven't we? Has the world gone far enough? Yes. I said something yesterday. I'd love your reaction. People got quite angry. Some people did when I said, you know, all those social commentators across the world jumped up and down when George Floyd was murdered. Rightly, they jumped up and down with the Ukraine war. I don't believe there's been an nth of the condemnation for what I consider genocide by a terrorist organisation. And people need to be honest about that. I really believe that.
It's worse than that. We're having pro-Palestinian demonstrations around the world, singing from the river to the sea. What does from the river to the sea mean? The entire annihilation of the state of Israel. Not only are we not seeing enough condemnation, we're seeing victim blaming. We are the victims. They are the aggressors. And we have demonstrations around the world blaming us. What are we being blamed for? We left Gaza in 2005 with the hope that they would take this beautiful strip of land, which is in the best coastal area of the region. They could have turned it into Dubai, and instead they turned it into Beirut. Is that on us as well? When are the Palestinian leadership going to actually take responsibility for their corruption and their genocidal philosophy? When? And when is the world going to actually hold them accountable?
Fleur, you're the Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. Can you speak a little to how people are feeling at the moment in Israel about the potential for air raids, airstrikes against Gaza, the fact that obviously there will be civilian casualties in any kind of attack, retaliatory attack on Gaza, and the fact that even more innocent lives will be lost? Do you think that that is an inevitability, or do you think that's something that is being mitigated against?
The Israeli army is one of the most moral armies in the world. They have a code of conduct. Let me tell you, every time Israel is going to destroy a building, they send messages to the residents of the building, and they say to them, there is terrorist infrastructure buried in your building, leave because we're going to attack. How many armies do you think actually do that?
Well, I'll jump
Not
in and
many.
tell you, Hamas didn't warn anybody at that music festival, did they, Fleur, on Saturday? They just murdered 260 people. I mean, none of us, let's be perfectly honest, and I've been touched, as you have, over the last couple of days by, in fact, the Israeli people on this show saying, we don't want the genuine Palestinian people. We've talked about a two-state solution for too long. We don't want them harmed. But Hamas is a terrorist organisation. And sadly, whether some people are not like this, in life, there are evil things that have to be dealt with. And I don't believe that Hamas and the way that it's treated the Israeli and the Jewish community deserve any more than the retribution that will come.
Hamas treat their own people terribly.
Yeah.
Hamas lock up journalists. Hamas lock up dissidents. Hamas throw LGBTQ people from rooftops. This is what we're dealing with here. Now, Israel does not want innocent lives in Gaza lost. But let me ask you something. When the Allied forces in 1948 bombed Dresden, do you not think there were also some innocent German lives that were lost? We're talking about a civilizational war, an existential war. And whilst we will mitigate innocent casualties, we cannot not retaliate, and we cannot not defend our citizens. That is our right.